Hi, good afternoon, everybody. While we wait for people to join the webinar, I'll introduce myself. I'm Dr. Rahim. I'm the lead physician at Medicio Healthcare. I want us all to take a little bit of a pause and think about uh, when we first had our first symptom of perimenopause or menopause. And while you're doing that, I will tell you my first run-in with perimenopause. So I like to call it the Starbucks Sizzler. So it must have been a couple of years ago when, for those of you who know me, I'm not the most organized person when it comes to my personal life. I had finally gotten the kids to school, the right time, and there was actually school. Everybody had their right outfit on. You know, my son was in gym and my daughter was in uniform. And magically, I made it through downtown Toronto traffic early. And I thought, wow, this is great. I'm going to go to Starbucks and get myself a special drink. So I pranced into Starbucks at Bayan College. And there was a barista, a young gentleman who looked like he was 12, but I'm sure he wasn't because I don't think you can actually work at Starbucks at that age. And I started my order. I said, I would like a venti chai latte, low fat milk, sugar-free vanilla. And then I said, where am I? Am I at Starbucks or am I at Tim Hortons? So first menopausal symptom, brain fog. Well, okay, I finally figured out I was at Starbucks, kept on ordering. And I heard the person behind the counter say, ma'am, 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 who is he talking to? I don't know. And I realized ma'am was actually me because, you know, when you're over 40, now you become ma'am. Lesson number one. And then I just, he said, ma'am, do you want me to call the ambulance? I can call someone. Do you need me to call someone? I said, call someone? What is going on here? And I realized there I was having my first hot flash. I was sweating profusely from my ears, from my eyes, from places that people should not sweat from. So I took a deep breath. Ma'am, should I call the ambulance? Are you okay? I was like, I don't know. Should you call the ambulance? What is going on? I think I'm okay. No, don't call the ambulance. My second deep breath. Okay, don't call the ambulance. I am okay. All I'd like you to do is change my order to an iced chai latte. And that was it, my first run in with menopause. And on that note, let us get to our webinar of today. I would like to say thank you so much. Welcome to one of the many educational seminars that Medicio will be hosting. Today's webinar is in collaboration with HealthyU and Alissa Steinberg. We're thrilled that you took the time out to come and join us. This is a very important topic. And I'd like to really make this webinar as interactive as possible. So please use the chat function to ask any questions and post any comments. Those of you who will participate will be entered into a draw for one of two prizes. First, an hour-long initial consultation with HealthyU and Alissa, and second, a $100 gift card from Medicio. Without further ado, let's get started. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Alya Rahim, and I've been a family doctor in downtown Toronto for the past 20 years. Like many of you, my life has been a constant balancing act and a constant struggle. I'm trying to manage the demanding career, caring for my family, managing relationships, and navigating motherhood. All too often, this comes at the cost of my own health. It's very easy to prioritize everything above our own health. After a lot of soul searching, I realized something had to change. I needed to redefine my role in medicine, both for myself, for my patients, and for my family. I began to see myself in many of you. I began to see myself in my patients, constantly juggling responsibilities, trying to keep it all together. I knew I needed to move from providing sick care to providing health care. My focus needed to shift to prevention. I wanted to empower individuals with the tools to stay healthy. And out of this, Medicio was born. At Medicio, our mission is to prioritize prevention and, most importantly, to focus on modifiable cardiometabolic risk factors. We aim not just to extend lifespan, but to improve health span. That is the years of life spent in good health. On that note, let's dive into today's topic of menopause. Clinically, menopause is defined as 1 year without menses. Typically, this occurs between the ages of 40 and 52. But as most of us already know, this journey begins much, much, much earlier in a phase called perimenopause, or what I like to call the roller coaster of life, where anything goes. Perimenopause starts at the age of 40 and can span up to 10 years. During this transition, ovarian function declines and our cycles begin to change. The symptoms of menopause and perimenopause are wide ranging, far reaching, and impactful. They include hot flashes, menstrual irregularities, sleep disturbances, brain fog, mood swings, joint pain, and weight changes. But the most critical change occurs in cardiometabolic health. Cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death in women over 50 in the postmenopausal period. The risk of cardiovascular disease significantly increases after menopause. This is driven by changes in lipoproteins, lipids, body composition, and metabolic rate. This makes menopause a unique opportunity to take proactive steps to engage in prevention and to prevent cardiometabolic risk. And that brings me to today's guest speaker, Alissa Steinberg. Alissa is a highly skilled, entertaining, enthusiastic dietitian with extensive experience in metabolic health and weight management. She has worked with organizations such as Sick Kids, Unity Health, and the Markham Family Health Team. But most of all, she is the proud founder of HealthyU. Today, we are excited to have Alissa guide us through the connection between menopause and nutrition and help us make the right dietary choices to empower women to take charge of their health during this transformative phase. So I'm going to hand over the webinar to HealthyU and Alissa.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm just going to share my screen so we can dive right in. And I'm going to let everyone know that there is a cooking demo at the end of this session. So stay tuned. We are going to actually see some recipes in action. And a big philosophy I live by that becomes really important during menopause is let food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. So menopause does mark the end of estrogen's dominant role in our body as our ovarian function declines. And when estrogen levels take that nosedive, that sharp drop, comes a cascade of changes to women's bodies. First, our bone density starts to decline. So as estrogen levels drop, it accelerates bone density loss, increasing our risk of osteoporosis and women losing up to 20% of their bone density in the first 5 to 7 years of menopause, increasing things like fracture risks. Our muscle mass declines. So again, as estrogen is dropping, our muscle protein synthesis is also breaking down and decreasing. So women lose about 3 to 8% of their muscle mass per decade after the age of 30, and during menopause, this is accelerated. Our body composition is shifting. Estrogen plays a big role in fat distribution, and when it's dropping during menopause, that distribution shifts, to our central visceral area, creating that apple-shaped frame. My apologies. Okay. We're going with the flow here. Okay, so the body composition shifting in addition to cardiometabolic concern. So as that weight is basically deposited more centrally, that increases our cardiometabolic risk. So things like visceral fat, causing that release of free fatty acids that impairs insulin sensitivity, inflammation, our cholesterol levels are affected, insulin resistance, as well as blood pressure. Our metabolic rate also is decreasing, which then impacts things like weight management. Women may experience a 5 to 10% decrease in their metabolic rate during and after menopause, and this is due to loss of muscle mass, that energy balance. So as our metabolism is decreasing, our caloric intake may be unchanged, causing more of that weight gain, and as well as insulin resistance, which promotes more of that fat storage and appetite spikes as well. And lastly, those hormone withdrawal symptoms. So again, that rapid decline in estrogen causes those withdrawal symptoms, as Dr. Rahim was saying. So our vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes, night sweats, and chills, sleep disturbances, mood and cognitive changes, physical changes, and even our gastrointestinal symptoms. So some may experience bloating, gas, and constipation. But here's the good news. We can actually reverse these trends. Studies have shown that regular resistance training combined with that higher protein intake can actually stop muscle and bone mass and even help to build them back. And our muscles and bones can actually be stronger than ever, even in our midlife, as an example. So let's shift from our bone density declining to our bone density actually increasing, keeping our bones strong and resilient. So let's first start with a knowledge check. I'd love to hear from the audience, which of the following nutrients is especially important to support bone health during menopause? Is it vitamin C, calcium and vitamin D, iron, or omega-3s? And I'll open the chat so we can see everyone's answers. Amazing participation, everyone. All right, so everyone, I'm seeing a lot of D, I'm seeing some C. So in terms of bone health, this is fantastic. I'm so impressed with everyone right now. Yes. So the answer is, drum roll, calcium and vitamin D in bone health. So in terms of let's kind of dive into that a little bit deeper. Calcium is a key mineral for maintaining our bone density and our strength. Vitamin D increases calcium absorption, and vitamin K is also important with bone mineralization, preventing that bone loss. Vitamin K is found in things like leafy greens, so kale, spinach, and Swiss chard, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts. And for calcium, what we're really looking for is aiming to achieve about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day. And this would be in milk and milk alternatives, things like tofu and those leafy greens as well. So my main takeaway for yourselves is try including 2 to 3 servings of calcium-containing foods daily. And a really fun resource is Osteoporosis Canada has a calculator. So you can actually enter in your typical day and actually see if you're achieving anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams daily. Vitamin D. So vitamin D, we're aiming for 600 to 800 international units per day, but our food supply is quite low in vitamin D, and we can't rely on sun year round, or we don't really want to rely on our sun as well for the vitamin D source. So I do recommend taking a supplement. So either doing all 7 drops on one day of your week for that top up, or a daily consumption works as well. Our muscle mass. So rather than experiencing muscle mass loss, let's focus on maintaining and strengthening our muscle mass. So knowledge check. I'd love to hear from everyone again. Which of the following macronutrients is the most satiating, that delays subsequent hunger and can actually reduce our overall calorie intake? Is it protein? Is it fats? Or is it carbohydrates? So I'm going to open up the chat here. Let's see. So is it A? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of A's. Amazing. I saw 1B. Wow, this is fantastic. I'm so excited. Drum roll, you are all pretty much correct in superstars. The answer is A. So protein is that macronutrient that plays a big role in keeping us fuller longer. So those who actually have a higher protein diet compared to standard diets consume on average 300 calories less per day without knowledge about that less consumption. And that's because protein does actually increase our satiety hormones that keep us fuller longer, and it decreases our hunger hormone. So it helps to regulate our appetite. And it also has a high thermic effect, so it actually requires more energy to break down protein. So in terms of my rule of thumb, so we do want to make protein our best friend during menopause. And I really try to encourage patients to have anywhere from 100 to 150 grams of protein per day. And that's to support muscle mass preservation, to increase our bone density, manage our weight, and even help with insulin resistance. So protein plays a big role in all of those things. So for women who are a little bit less active, I do recommend around 1.2 grams per kilogram of your body weight for protein. And for women who are a little bit more active to help with muscle growth and muscle repair, 1.6 grams per kilogram per day. So when to actually have protein. So timing does matter. It's important to actually spread your protein intake throughout the day, as that increases muscle protein synthesis and it helps with muscle retention. Prioritizing first thing in the morning within 1 to 2 hours of waking and even at bedtime is also favorable for muscle protein synthesis and muscle repair. And when you're working out, try consuming protein 30 to 60 minutes after the exercise. This is that anabolic window that really optimizes muscle growth and recovery. Protein can be found in both plant-based and animal-based sources. So, like for example, one egg has about 6 grams of protein. Half a package of tofu, extra firm, is 20 grams of protein. Or one chicken breast, 75 grams, which is about the size of a deck of a card, is about 20 grams of protein. So once you figure out how much protein are in these food sources, the main takeaway is for every meal, include 20 to 30 grams of protein, and for our snacks, including 10 to 15 grams of protein. So a few of my favorite things, our grocery shelves are now loaded with protein-rich products. Even milk is now ultra-filtered with more protein. Protein shakes that are more convenient, ready to go are also available. Protein bars, rather than having just a standard granola bar, prioritize ones with a little bit more protein. Even chips are available, bread products are available, wraps, and even pastas. My favorite are legume-based pastas. This here is a black bean pasta, and there's also, even my kids love this, a red lentil pasta. Resistance training also impacts our metabolism. So the more muscle we have, it actually does increase our metabolic rate. So for every kilogram of muscle mass, you're gaining about 21 extra calories per kilo. So if you gain 5 kilograms of lean body mass, that's an extra 100 calories per day. And research has shown that 4 months of resistance training can actually increase your lean body mass by up to 3 kilograms, decrease fat mass by up to 4 kilograms, and increase our metabolic rate by 7%. So resistance or muscle strengthening training is the way to go as a part of this journey. Shifting from that central adiposity, let's focus on a healthier body composition. So I do really focus on going beyond the scale and focusing on waist circumference, looking at how our jeans are fitting, perhaps measuring our waist circumference, or including a scale that may actually include body composition measurements. What's our percent body fat? What's our percent visceral fat? And that visceral fat is the type of fat that's deposited around our major organs. So for women, I do recommend trying to work towards keeping that waist circumference under 80 centimeters, as that decreases our cardiometabolic risk. Right around that abdominal region sits our pancreas and our liver, 2 main organs that play a big role in our overall health. And again, rather than our metabolism going down, let's keep it fired up to fuel our goals. So here's how. First is trying to eat more regularly. So start eating within 1 to 2 hours of waking, and then every 2 to 3 hours thereafter to refuel. There's many benefits to eating more regularly throughout the day. So first and foremost, it gives our body a chance to actually reach all of our nutrient needs. It maintains a faster metabolism. And if we're eating more regularly, we're actually more energized. It regulates our mood. So who hears sort of the term hangry? So hungry and angry. So by eating more often, it actually regulates our emotions. It's also role modeling healthy behavior in the food, in the home. And if I'm eating enough all day, those cravings, those urges, and those desires for those kind of evening snack can actually be a little bit more toned. So what does that mean for actually packing up our lunches? So as we're heading out to work, it's important to actually pack a morning snack, a main lunch, and an afternoon snack. So it's not just kind of taking that sandwich and going, it's actually prioritizing those 3 eating times within one lunchbox. So who here knows what are the different sections of this balanced plate? It's one of my favorite tools. I'd love to hear from this incredible audience again. And we're going to answer questions at the end. So Marta, thank you. We're going to definitely follow up with that soon. Half is vegetables. Yes. What's the other quarter over here? Protein. Yes. Our best friend. And then the other quarter is the starches or the carbs. Amazing. You are all superstars. So this is really what our meals and snacks should look like according to our Canada's Food Guide. It's a pictorial plate, but I actually love this plate when it comes to building meal plans for clients. So half our plate is what you all just described as veggies or fruits. The other quarter starch and protein. So this plate applies to both meals and our snacks. So when I'm creating my breakfast, I'm using this plate. When I'm creating my snack, I'm using a smaller version of this plate. And that theme carries on throughout the rest of my day. So it's not about having the same old steamed broccoli and garden salad. It's about making vegetables taste delicious if it's supposed to be half of our plates on a regular basis. So show of hands, who here's ever tried cauliflower rice before? Maybe just do a thumbs up. Yes, amazing. And what about things like, I will just kind of just spiralized zucchini noodles or even spaghetti squash, or carrot french fries, or lastly, stuffed peppers. So trying to kind of make vegetables taste fun is key, especially if it's half our plate for most of our eating times. So what's missing from this breakfast? How do we actually make this a little bit more balanced? Who can share some ideas on how to add more balance to this plate? Eggs, I love it. Yep. Amazing. Yes, you are all incredible. I'm so impressed. So many high fives to everybody. So in this example here, as an example, I have added eggs and some veggies to my eggs and some avocado. So I'm not relying on the bread to fill me up. It's a balance of all of those food groups. And then what's missing from this lunch? We have rice and chicken, a very classic lunch. What could we add to offer more balance? Amazing. All of the color from veggies. So you'll see what a difference this actually makes the second you're adding more volume from color. Excellent. So the reality is it's not so easy to actually follow this plate. So most often we're seeing large portions of rice either cooked or served. Ramen noodles, we're not getting half a cup, we're getting about 2 cups. Pizza, we're getting a whole plate of pizza. And lastly, pasta as well. So it's not so easy to actually follow this plate when it comes down to restaurants, our food environment. Our portion sizes are growing. Bagels used to be 140 calories and now they're 360. Our dishes are growing. Our plates used to be 9 inches, now they're 12. And also, I'm not sure if anyone noticed this, but Tim Hortons, a coffee shop here in Canada, did knock out their small. So their medium size is now associated with the term small. So our portion sizes are growing. Glycemic index is one of my favorite things to kind of follow when it comes to foods that raise our blood sugar. Choosing the lower glycemic index versions prevents those spikes in our sugars, and it reduces things like high blood sugars, heart disease, and it helps with keeping us fuller longer, which is linked to maintaining healthy body weights. So the glycemic index is a great resource. I would encourage you to check it out from Diabetes Canada, but red means stop. Green means go. And yellow is kind of in moderation, proceed with caution. So choose foods from the green section more often. This would be things like quinoa, sweet potato, sourdough bread. That's the low glycemic index starches. And I get a lot of questions about what fruits to choose. Go with the green ones. So things like apples, oranges, pears, those are the ones to choose most often. So for example, instead of watermelon, perhaps let's choose some orange slices. Instead of white potato, let's switch over to sweet potato. Instead of white rice, let's switch over to quinoa. So let's go back to that knowledge check. Fiber is a dietitian's favorite F word. And what do you think fiber helps to do? Does it help to lower cholesterol, keep us fuller longer, reduce our blood sugars, or even help with digestive health? Or all of the above? What do we think? Amazing. I'm so impressed with everyone right now. You're like making my day. The answer is E. You are all correct. Fantastic. Fiber has so many health advantages, and it's important during menopause to prioritize about 25 to 30 grams daily. This is vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains. Whole grains with more than 4 grams of fiber per serving. So check out your labels. So my pro tip is just fill your plate every meal and snack with at least half of your plate being vegetables and or fruits for all meals and snacks. And that will really get you to that target. And when we're looking at bread products and cereals and granola bars, we're aiming for more than 4 grams of fiber to stay within that whole grain realm and less than 8 grams of sugar per serving. So guess how many oranges it takes to make 1 cup of juice? Because I have a lot of clients say, but I get my fruit consumption from my juice. So how many oranges to make just 1 cup? Miriam is 10. Okay, I love it. 4, 6. Drum roll. I think the answer, the winning is, I think Tracy. Tracy, you are correct. The answer is 6 oranges. So it takes 6 oranges to actually squeeze 1 cup of juice, which is also comparable to about 6 packets of sugar in just 1 cup of juice. The only difference is can I chug 1 cup of juice? No problem. Yes. But can I eat 6 oranges in one sitting? Maybe, but I'll be a lot more full thanks to my friend, fiber. Fiber keeps us fuller longer. So all that good stuff in the orange is not included in that juice option. True or false? Thirst, hydration. It is common to confuse thirst with hunger. Okay, amazing. You are all incredible. You're all correct. It is true. It's very common. If you're not drinking enough water, you might actually mistaken thirst for hunger and actually overeat. And that's because they're connected to the same part in our brain, our hypothalamus. So I do encourage my patients to include at least 8 cups of water per day, but also make it fun. Buy a new fancy water bottle. Make it a part of your SMART goals. So break it down where you're having 1 cup before you're eating. Put a reminder on your phone or make water taste good by adding lemons, some herbs, anything to make it a little bit more fun. So our cardiometabolic risk concerns, let's reverse that. Let's protect our cardiometabolic health. And here's how. Again, our knowledge check. What type of fat in our diet is generally considered less healthy and should be limited? Is it monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, saturated fats, or omega-3s? Amazing. You are all superstars. So the answer is saturated fats. You are all correct. That is the fat that we want to limit. And that's because it's connected to our cholesterol levels. So we have HDL in our cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol, H for high. And then we have LDL for low. We want to keep that one low because that one's contributing to plaque formation in our arteries. Saturated fat is found in what I kind of say, the common theme is animal-based fats, as well as tropical oils like coconut oil and palm oil. Another kind of good sign of a saturated fat is it's solid at room temperature. So if I make that kind of really delicious roast and that gravy hardens, we know that's saturated fat. So it's important to choose low-fat dairy products and keep our animal proteins lean. So remove the skin. Trim off the fat, get the least marbled versions, and aim for 0% dairy products when possible or light cheeses when possible. Choose more unsaturated fats. That's the good fats. And that's the opposite of animal. It's the plant-based fats. So we're talking olive oil, avocado, nuts and seeds, ground flax seeds, chia seeds, all that good stuff. And the only exception is fish. Fish is an omega-3 fat. It's an unsaturated fat. And again, these would be more liquid at room temperature. So let's mix and match. So I'd love to hear from everyone on this list, which would be the less healthy fats. So let's hear kind of that list from everybody. I'm just going to open up the chat again. Amazing. So fries, butter, because butter comes from an animal. So that's saturated fat. The marbled beef, the coconut oil, made the cookie, amazing, love it. So again, everything in moderation, but when we're thinking about women's health and cholesterol, it's important to understand that these types of foods have that impact on our cholesterol levels. So minimizing those less healthy fats when possible. I also love the portfolio diet. It's an amazing message. It's a plant-based diet that helps to lower LDL. And it says every day, here's what to include. So nuts and seeds. So ask yourself, have you had nuts and seeds so far today? Plant-based proteins. That's why on all of my recipes on Instagram, I'm doing chicken and chickpeas. I'm doing salmon and pistachios. beef and tofu. Adding in those plant-based proteins is key. And that viscous, sticky fiber, that soluble fiber, it grabs the plaque and takes it out of you. It also is suggesting things like olive oil. So making olive oil kind of that principal fat in the home. I also love products like Metamucil or even Fiber 4 if you kind of just need that daily kind of routine of taking and achieving your soluble fiber dose. So I do recommend taking something like Metamucil. So 1 teaspoon is about 2 grams of soluble fiber, and we need about 10. So that could be up to 5 teaspoons. But when we're adding fiber, go slow. Otherwise, your body might reject it too quickly. The Mediterranean diet is like the Taylor Swift of dietary patterns. It is, everyone loves it. It is totally worth the hype. And it's because it can actually reduce cardiovascular disease by up to 30%, improve our cholesterol, lower our blood pressure, reduce inflammation, reduce our body weights, and even reduce things like type 2 diabetes by up to 19%, some cancers, and Alzheimer's. So what is this pattern? This pattern is really focusing on whole ingredients, less processed, less packaged foods. So limiting added sugars, limiting white flour. And it's also suggesting swap the butter for olive oil. Instead of white rice, try quinoa more often. Instead of white pasta, choose a lentil pasta like a legume pasta. And for some of your favorite packaged snacks, such as granola bars, try making them homemade instead. And for traditional recipes like a chicken curry, maybe add double the veggies and even add a can of chickpeas. Last but not least are our hormone withdrawal symptoms. So how do we basically have our hormones hit their stride, powering us through this new chapter? So phytoestrogens play a role in helping with things like hot flashes. It helps to balance out that drop in estrogen. And phytoestrogens are found in foods like soy, so soybeans, like edamame beans, tofu, flax seeds, lentils, and chickpeas. So my takeaway for you would be add ground flax seeds to your baking. Top your salads with some edamame beans. Omega-3s are another major priority. They really help with cognitive function and our mood. So that target you can see is here, but typically it's that kind of world of fish and then the world of ground flax seeds to expose that omega-3 fat, walnuts, and chia seeds. So my tip for you would be prioritize omega-3 fats and or take a supplement. I'm all about an omega-3 supplement. I don't recommend a lot of supplements, but omega-3 and vitamin D are the two main ones I would recommend. Choosing foods that are high in antioxidants to really help to reduce inflammation. As I said earlier, inflammation is linked to cardiovascular disease. And if we have less inflammation, our body's a lot happier. So antioxidant-rich foods are found in things like vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and selenium. So it's called ACEs. So choosing foods with those nutrients is key. And that would be things like more colorful foods, like dark, deeper berries, green dark spinach, and walnut. So those whole ingredients are very anti-inflammatory. The pro-inflammatory foods are more of the packaged foods. Magnesium is a big one. It helps with so much, including sleep and sleep disturbances, digestion. But so prioritizing magnesium, but at night to help with more of a potential better sleep pattern. So things like cooked spinach, almonds, black beans, and pumpkin seeds. So my takeaway would be try making pumpkin seeds a part of your bedtime snack. I'm going to wrap up before I dive into my cooking demo with this little kind of cheat sheet. So take a picture of this if this is helpful. But for our meals, we're looking at targeting calcium, protein, iron, B12, reducing that saturated fat, and omega-3s and fiber, because vitamin D, we're getting it from that supplement. So for our meals, that's kind of the target there. And for our snacks, it's a little bit less, but these are the nutrients to prioritize to really summarize everything we've just been talking about. So let's get cooking. I'm going to shift gears here. We are making one of my viral recipes, my salted caramel scones, because not only is it menopause friendly, but there's only 3 main ingredients. So I'm going to switch gears here for 1 second, and we're going to walk over to my cooking station together. And I'm going to prompt you here, and I will stop sharing so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so give me 1 second. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to angle you down here. Perfect. So can everyone see this bowl right here? Okay, so the first step is we're adding in 1.5 cups of almond flour. Almond flours contain antioxidants, calcium, and vitamin E as well. And it's very high in fiber and very low carb. We're doing 1/4 cup of coconut flour. Also, again, that's a very low carb, nutrient rich flour alternative with protein and other nutrients as well. And the third main ingredient is Greek yogurt. So we are adding calcium, we are adding protein because Greek yogurt's a lot thicker and it actually helps to offer more protein in a dairy product. So I'm going to give it all a good mix. I am adding here 1 tablespoon of baking powder for that potential rise, a little bit of vanilla, and I'm adding in just 2 tablespoons of some maple syrup. Again, maple syrup is a little bit less processed than white sugar, so it's more natural and it's a lot sweeter, so I can use a lot less. I'm going to give it a good mix, and it forms the most beautiful dough that I will roll into a ball and basically cut into triangles. So this recipe here makes 6 scones. So give me a second here as it kind of forms nicely. Okay. Now, last but not least, I do have to add a little bit of toffee bits to give it that kind of caramel effect. So you can see how it's forming this really, really, really beautiful dough. That's easy. And that's Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt. And I chose a 0% Greek yogurt because it has 0 saturated fat. So this here is my dough. And I'm going to sprinkle on some toffee bits. So I did about 2 tablespoons within, and I'll sprinkle more on top. But as you can see, this is my little beautiful ball here. And then once it's that ball, I'm going to basically chop it up into 6 triangles. Just give me 1 second here. So this also, as you can see, is very, very time friendly because it just took me about 3 minutes to assemble this entire dough. Okay, so can everyone see my dough ball here? We're going to put it into this beautiful ball. Yay! We are doing this together. And then I cut this ball into 6 servings. So I'm going to simply go like this, down, and I'm going to basically make it into 3 triangles like so. So this here is the scones lining up. Look how beautiful that is. And so easy. And it smells so good. It smells like vanilla. I'm a huge fan of scones for breakfast, and this would be the perfect option for us women. Okay, so that's here. And then my next trick is just to kind of move you over to the baking tray. So we're going to take some caramel sauce. So I did find a good quality caramel sauce. This is just for that crispy finish at the bottom. And I'm basically going to drizzle on the bottom so we get a really yummy crispy effect for all my scones. It's just a little bit of caramel there. Because as I'm baking them in the oven, they become, I'm going to place them on the kind of most beautiful caramel loaded sections over here. And these are my scones here. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more toffee bits. And that is it. And guess what? We have the final product right over here. This here is the final product. How beautiful. I wish I could deliver them to everyone and make this one of our prizes. But this, and as you can see, this caramel crisp is like magical. My kids devoured my first batch. But that is the actual cooking demo today to inspire you. Yes, amazing. I'm just going to share my screen one more time to wrap up together here. So give me 1 quick second. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So let's actually analyze this recipe together. So we did the scones, 3 main ingredients, but let's see what's actually in them that might make them menopause friendly. So each scone has 200 calories. And the saturated fat is low, so it's 1.7 grams, and we're aiming for less than 2 grams per snack. The fiber is 4.2 per scone, and we're aiming for 2 to 5 grams for our snacks. And the protein is 11 grams just from the almond flour, coconut flour, and Greek yogurt. And we're aiming for protein 10 to 15 grams for snacks. And our calcium for our bone health is 100 milligrams. So for snacks, we're looking at 100 to 200. And calcium from food is more readily absorbed. So just to kind of conclude, menopause is a phase of reinvention. It's not about a drastic diet or restricting our food intake. It's about empowering yourself with the habits to be one step ahead of this journey. So I'm proud of everyone for showing up today and participating and being a part of this talk. And my final thought, when it comes to making behavior changes or implementing changes within our menu or our exercise routine, small changes lead to big results. So each step forward builds that momentum, turning those daily wins into long-term success. So go slow and steady and give yourself a lot of praise along the journey. Okay. And that concludes the nutrition piece.
Thank you so much. This was great. It's so insightful, and really it just inspires me to take control of my health. And all of us can do it. We're busy moms, we're busy women. That took about what, 3 minutes? Put it in the oven and we're done. I think that's fantastic.
12
So
minutes. 12 minutes.
12 minutes in the oven? Wow, that is quick. I could have done it over this talk. I should have made them while I was listening. I thought that was amazing. So, I think what we've learned today is that menopause isn't just a biological milestone, it's an opportunity. At Medicio, we're here to support you throughout this journey. We offer cardiometabolic testing, including coronary calcium scores, extended lipid profiles, lipoproteins, cardiac risk stratification with stress echoes, medical weight management and non-medical weight management, and both hormonal and non-hormonal methods of managing menopause. And of course, we have a partnership with HealthyU, which is fantastic. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a challenge. So, no matter where you decide to access your healthcare, ask more from yourself. Prioritize your health, not as an afterthought, but as a deliberate investment. Approach your health with commitment and intention. See menopause not as a struggle, but as an opportunity to reinvent yourself and focus on prevention, focus on cardiometabolic health, and focus on becoming the healthiest version of you. I think we can all do this. I think it just takes some time and some commitment, and we are all worth it. So, to the most exciting part of our talk, questions. So I'm going to let Alissa start first and take some of the nutrition questions, and then I will talk to some of the more medical questions if as time permitting. But don't worry, if we don't get to your questions, we will post them on our social media and send out an email with these answers. So I'd like you to know that you can follow HealthyU and Medicio on Instagram and have access to multiple recipes, blogs. It's just a wealth of information.
Amazing. Okay, I see one question on intermittent fasting. Okay, so I'm going to start there because I love that question. So intermittent fasting is really about when we should be eating, not necessarily about what we should be eating. So there are benefits to following intermittent fasting, so insulin resistance, reduction of inflammation. But when you actually look at intermittent fasting compared to calorie reduction of about 10 to 20%, it's the same weight loss outcomes. So you end up losing about 7 to 8% of your body weight over a period of about 6 months. But my concerns with intermittent fasting really kind of rise because research in human studies is only up to 6 months. So there's not a lot of long-term data. Because of those restricted time eating windows, it can actually lead to more cravings and increased caloric intake when you're actually in a non-fasted window. So research has shown that some people actually participants are consuming 30% more calories. That kind of offsets that deficit. And also that role modeling behavior in the home. So, depending on kind of the home setup, so who might be actually kind of a part of your eating schedule and how that plays a role. So I really say for intermittent fasting, and there is also some research now that's coming out that it's actually decreasing muscle mass. So I would say it has to really work for that person, but it's really helpful to focus on what we're eating as a part of the intermittent fasting and recognize that the data is not necessarily long term. And a lot of the evidence is compelling to have protein first thing in the morning to really, again, increase that muscle protein synthesis. So the intermittent fasting, I'd say, might offset that bonus. So I think the magic isn't in the fasting. It's really in just kind of having something first thing in the morning and wrapping up your night as early as possible after dinner. Supplements. These are great questions. So supplements, I would recommend, as I was saying in the presentation, for sure vitamin D and for sure omega-3s. So aiming for about 1,000 milligrams of EPA, DHA supplements, but specifically EPA is more of a connection to improve mood. But other supplements to consider could be things like magnesium, so up to 500 milligrams in the evening before bed. I'm also a fan of collagen. So collagen, 10 grams daily is the dose. And that actually is linked to skin, hair, nails, as well as bones and joints. So I am a fan of collagen. Amazing. You should take magnesium every night. Okay. Getting a good sleep. Sometimes actually, depending on your level of exercise, that's connected to sleep hygiene. So sometimes thinking about your exercise regimen to kind of tire us out in a way. And research has shown that the lights from phones and TVs actually keep us awake longer than like a lamp light reading. So sometimes the lights play a role in our ability to fall asleep or stay asleep. Yeah, vitamin D with K is good. As I said earlier, K is connected to bone health, but not always easy to find. So again, vitamin K is all those green vegetables. So if you're taking vitamin D, make sure that when you're having some salads, make sure they're darker and darker green. So Brussels sprouts, kale, Swiss chard, all that good stuff. So collagen's found in mostly animal products. So it's extracted from the bovine or marine collagen. And it should be readily absorbed. But food sources that are collagen containing would be all of the animal-based products. So eggs, poultry, and meat products do contain collagen, but not necessarily, depends on how it's made to actually get the collagen as well. Yeah, so you can actually have too much protein. And research has shown, so the question is, is there such thing as too much protein and are there issues with that? So protein, there is a threshold in which our body will no longer use extra protein. That's why it's important to space it out throughout the day. So that threshold is about 20 to 40 grams. So once you've exceeded 40 grams, your body's not utilizing it efficiently. So it's important to kind of keep your protein levels, your proteins distributed throughout the day. And if you have any other health concerns, again, everything I say, it's so important to connect with your healthcare team, speak to Dr. Rahim or your family doctor. If there are kidney concerns, then protein would be modified to being a lesser amount. Oh, sorry, the yogurt portion was 3/4 of a cup. Good one, good one. Yes, and the baking, the baking temperature is, I think it was 400 Fahrenheit for 12 minutes. Yes, eggs are completely fine to eat daily. My research has shown 5 a week is totally fine or more. It's just that it does have a little bit of saturated fat in the yolk, about 1.5 grams per egg. So if you're ideally, we kind of keep saturated fat under about 15 grams per day. So as long as eggs are being counted towards that, then you're okay to enjoy eggs daily. I'm so excited for you to bake these tonight. The recipe is on our website, but perhaps we'll share it on our Medicio Instagram account as well. So that way you can also check it out there as well. So yogurt, you could do dairy-free yogurts. Is it dairy that's the concern for the recipe? And vegan recipes. So yeah, yeah. My favorite vegan recipe developer is Oh She Glows. She is amazing. Her recipes are detailed, but they turn out beautifully. So dairy, you can try non-dairy yogurt options. Like there's a lot of newer options out there, like almond cashew yogurts. And it's just that liquid that we're looking for. So I would say a dairy-free version might be a bit, yeah, amazing. Oshi Glows is so good. Yes, amazing. Vegan is definitely a great menu to follow. Plant-based eating is very beneficial in the literature for prevention of so many things. Um, Yes. Okay, I can only see. Perfect. Okay. So vegan is a great way to approach menopause, but just plant-based living and lean animal proteins is kind of a nice takeaway. Amazing. And I'm going to press pause for now and hand it over to our incredible Medicio team.
Hello, everybody. I am also going to make these scones tonight, to be honest with you. Please follow us on Instagram, post your pictures of your recipe. I'd love to see. I may even bring them into work tomorrow if I can get my act together. Okay, I'm going to try to answer a few questions, the ones that are not so specific. So, a question from Ashley. What is the ideal age to start hormone replacement therapy? So, you know what? You need to consider HRT if you can't manage your menopausal symptoms. So, it is really specific to you and your healthcare provider, but I think it's worth that discussion. There is a time not to start HRT, and that's really important. So HRT should be initiated in women less than 60 years of age and within the first 10 years of menopause. This is because above that, your cardiometabolic risk is so much higher that the estrogen is not going to really, it's not going to be good for you. So below the age of 60, within the first 10 years of menopause, and then use the lowest dose possible, speak to your healthcare provider, and then really think about how long you want to approach HRT for. Most of us in medical literature would say 5 years is about where we target, and we reassess every single year. Second question is also from Ashley. What specific tests should I ask my doctor to order in menopause? So at Medicio, I always order a baseline mammogram. Now, everybody here should be getting their mammogram. Ontario Breast Screening Program now starts at age 40. Okay, so between 40 and 49, you can have a mammogram. Please don't ask anybody. Just sign up for the Ontario Breast Screening Program. There's no question here. People should get their mammograms. So number 2 is a pap test. Number 3, at Medicio, we'd recommend doing a baseline lipid profile, also including your lipoproteins, doing some tests for insulin resistance, and likely a coronary calcium score, and also looking at some of your cardiovascular risk markers, such as doing a stress test. Once we get information on all of those, we can actually determine if estrogen or HRT is the right choice for you. Now, one thing that is debatable is whether one should actually get their hormones done. I think that is very specific. Talk to your healthcare provider, but it's not a requirement for someone to start HRT or start thinking about perimenopause, because as long as the symptoms are consistent, we can honestly just say you're in perimenopause. And also in perimenopause, your hormones are one big roller coaster. So today's FSH and today's estrogen is different from tomorrow's estrogen and FSH. So sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense. What else do we have here? For mental health stuff to help with menopause, I would say the omega-3s, your EPA especially, and also focusing on nuts. I think nuts are a great alternative. What else do we have? Oh, Metamucil. Okay, so that's an interesting question. So sometimes Metamucil makes people very bloated. So fiber is great, but fiber without water is a rock in your gut. So if you increase your fiber, you need to increase your water intake and follow what Alissa says. You have to increase it slowly to let your gut get used to it. The other fiber that I saw was up on the screen was fiber 4, which is more of a FODMAP friendly fiber. And I think that would help with people who are bloated from fiber. What else was here? Let's see. Oh, I wanted to make a comment on vitamin D. So in my practice, I recommend vitamin D all the time. You don't need to measure your vitamin D, just take vitamin D. The issue is that most people are taking it on an empty stomach. Vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. In order for it to absorb, you need to eat it with something. If there's no fat, you're not going to absorb vitamin D. And the other thing is with calcium. What Alissa said, which was amazing, is that dietary calcium is much better absorbed than calcium supplements. And the issue with some calcium supplements is that they actually end up developing plaque in your system. So you're better off to get things from food. Food is your friend. The two difficult things I think to get from food are vitamin D, because you're not going to be bathing in the sun and there's very few products that have enough. And the other one is, for some people, they're omegas. Sleep interruptions. Okay, Alissa, anything for sleep interruptions? That's a
So,
tough one for menopause.
yeah, yeah.
It
So,
depends on what the sleep interruption's from.
yeah, exactly. I would say so sleep, it depends. Like sometimes people are waking up from needing to go to the washroom. So timing your hydration is another kind of key point. So we spoke about screen time and before bed. We spoke about ramping up exercise to kind of get our bodies tired. And then also hydration. So if it's kind of causing, if you're feeling like you're waking up to go to the washroom, then I would just kind of time your fluid a bit better, not just before bed. And then magnesium, a lot of questions about what type of magnesium. Magnesium glycinate before bed is actually quite more helpful than magnesium citrate or magnesium malate. So the glycinate is more focused on anxiety, mood swings, and better sleep. And it's more bioavailable and gentle on the stomach. So I'd say that might be the type of supplement to prioritize before bed, or just again, trying some magnesium rich foods before bed. And, speaking a little bit out of kind of my area of expertise is melatonin. Sometimes melatonin supplements can actually help, like the spray, but I haven't really done a kind of a very thorough kind of research answer on that.
Okay, so we're nearing almost the end of the talk. We will get to all your questions and answer them to the best of our ability. I want to really emphasize that with all these suggestions, they are broad and you need to talk to your healthcare provider about what for your specific needs. And I encourage everybody to have that conversation with their healthcare provider. I hope you guys had a great time. I did. The scones were let alone worth the entire talk.
I
For a
see for the
foodie,
end. Yes.
I really hope you've got a taste of what Medicio has to offer and what HealthyU has to offer. And please, wherever you access your healthcare, take time for yourself. Again, this is time for us to be responsible for our health, to be preventative. We're here for you anytime. If you have questions, ask your family doctor, ask us. And we're looking forward to interacting with you at another webinar, personally, on any level. And I just really, really want to thank HealthyU. That was fantastic. The webinar is going to be sent back out to you recorded. We will answer your questions. And then, wow, you guys really interacted. I can't wait to see who actually won the 2 prizes.
Yes. And then I get to meet one of them for a visit.
Yeah, it's so exciting. So exciting.
And
All right,
thank you so much for having me. Everything you're doing, it's refreshing to see your approach to healthcare. I've been in the field for 12 years or 14 years in medical kind of different environments, and I'm so impressed with the Medicio approach.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And me too with you. Look, I love HealthyU. You guys know, if you're already members at
We're super
Medicio,
fans.
you meet HealthyU, you meet Alissa, this is part of the deal with us. We will help get you healthy. So looking forward to, conversing with you more, and look out for our next webinar. Follow us on Instagram, follow us, join up for our newsletters, and have a wonderful, healthy day and focus on yourself.
Amazing. Thank you.
It's the scones.